What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you the draft profile and analysis for Liberty University quarterback Malik Willis. All that and much more coming your way right now. All right, Nick, as the clock ticks down closer and closer to April 28th, we have more draft profiles to get through. And starting off today, we have Malik Willis, the shifty, fast, young quarterback coming out of Liberty University. I know it's not a big school, but a lot of people do know his name. Malik Willis stands at 6'1", 220 pounds. PFF ranks him as the number 2 quarterback in this draft class. And Nick, you have a pro comp of Lamar Jackson. That remains to be seen. I think that he has the ability and the skill set, but he did play at a smaller university. So I think that we have to take everything we saw with a grain of salt. I like the Lamar Jackson comparison, but I think that Lamar Jackson played with much heavier competition than Malik Willis ever thought of. As far as his career stats are concerned, though, 4 years in the NCAA, 35 games with 5,107 passing yards, 48 touchdowns passing, 18 interceptions with 2,131 rushing yards and 29 total rushing touchdowns. This guy was always in the end zone. He was just an absolute machine, scoring left and right. He led Liberty to some of the best years that this football program has ever seen. And Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about Malik Willis' strengths and weaknesses as he enters the NFL draft?
Yeah, I think there's something we all need to remember about Malik Willis. He did start out at Auburn, couldn't make it as a starter there, so he went to Liberty for an opportunity, and it's gotten him this far. But at the end of the day, he is still raw talent and has a long way to go. He is not a day one starter, which is why you're going to see a guy like Malik Willis with all this talent, all these numbers, drop a little bit farther than you would expect. This guy, though, has a lot to work with. You got to look at the arm talent. He's got an extremely strong arm that can go anywhere down the field. Pick a spot, 80 yards on the field, no problem for Malik Willis. This guy will get the job done. And when you have him flush out of the pocket under duress, this guy can make plays happen with his arm. He's got a quick release. He works well on the run. I think that he's got a lot of potential there. And he is by far and away the best dual threat quarterback in this draft class. You can't look at another quarterback and say he's a good passer and a good runner. Most of them are just good passers from the pocket. Malik Willis is a guy who fits what the NFL is doing right now. Can run when he needs to, pass when he needs to. He's just got to work a little bit on his pocket presence, and that's where we go into his weaknesses. He struggles throwing from the pocket. He doesn't understand pocket presence, pocket awareness, sense of pressure. Malik Willis needs to work on these factors if he's going to make it in the NFL. He needs to understand when he needs to dip out of the pocket and make a play with his feet, or when he needs to sit in the pocket, handle the pressure in his face, and then make the proper read. He struggles with those reads as well. He's very slow through them, and he needs to work on progressing through them quicker, because if he's going to make it in the NFL, he's not going to have a lot of time to get that ball out, and he's just got to pick up the pace a little bit. At the end of the day, when you look at Malik Willis, he's got the best raw traits out of any quarterback, and I think that's what's going to be the biggest thing that a lot of teams look for, what he's able to do out of natural ability. A lot of the things that are weaknesses of his can be learned. A quarterback coach can work with him and get him up to par. To me, he could be another Josh Allen project. Out over 4 years, we could be looking at Malik Willis and saying he was the quarterback who dropped. How did anybody not see this coming? Malik Willis, I think, has the most potential out of every quarterback in this draft class.
I think Malik Willis has the highest ceiling for sure, but he has a very, very long way to go when it comes to reaching that ceiling. I believe that he has to sit behind a like quarterback for at least 2, maybe 3 seasons before he can really even get some playing time, because this guy has such raw ability. He has not seen anything coming out of like the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, any of that. He played at Liberty and he played against much smaller competition. Making that jump from Liberty to the NFL is going to be a massive jump for him. So he's going to have to take some time. Any team that drafts him has to realize this is not a day one starter, as you mentioned, Nick. They have to take their time with him. Otherwise, they might ruin him for his entire NFL playing career. When we take a look at some of those teams, though, we start off with the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have been in absolute flux since they have not been able to find a replacement for Cam Newton. They thought they had their guy in Sam Darnold last year who they traded for, but he did not pan out clearly, and now Matt Rule is on the hot seat. It's coming down to who he has as his quarterback, and that could be Malik Willis with their early top 10 pick.
I love that a lot, especially with DJ Moore. Another team that could be on the hunt for Malik Willis, the Denver Broncos. They struggle with their quarterback position. It looks like they're just a quarterback away from being where the Buccaneers were a couple of years ago, and Malik Willis might be the guy to get them the rest of the way there. With him learning with those weapons, they've got a lot of guys that are locked up for years. So having Malik Willis in that system for a few years, I think the Denver Broncos could really get somewhere and be a team that competes with the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Yeah, I like pairing him with Nathaniel Hackett, but I also like pairing him with Ron Rivera, and that's where the Washington Commanders will come in. We saw what Ron Rivera was able to do with Cam Newton, a mobile quarterback with a big arm who could really throw the ball deep and accurate. This guy has a lot of Cam Newton qualities. He's just not as big. Cam was basically a middle linebacker playing the quarterback position. Malik Willis has a slighter frame and he's 4 inches shorter, but when it's all said and done, he still has some of the same skill sets, and that's what Ron Rivera might be looking for at the quarterback position. We talk about some of the players that this team has. They have great wide receivers. They have an offensive line. They have weapons around the quarterback. They just need a stable body who's willing to learn and work in this system. Malik Willis will not be a day one starter, but he could work in this Washington Commanders system.
And finally, the New Orleans Saints, they're looking to replace Jameis Winston, looking to get a permanent replacement for Drew Brees. They've got to get this team on the right track, and it really starts with the quarterback position. So Malik Willis, if he's on the board, I'll bet good money that the New Orleans Saints will be picking this guy, because with Malik Willis, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas, I think this New Orleans Saints offense can really get back to performing the way it once did. He offers such unique traits and abilities that they have not had for a long time. I believe that Dennis Allen's going to get this team with Malik Willis under control and really get Malik Willis performing at his highest ability.
When it's all said and done, Malik Willis, he's a project player, but because of his abilities, because how valuable the quarterback position is in today's NFL, you have to select him with a first round pick because you get that 5th-year option. And if he's going to be sitting the bench for 2 or 3 years, you want those 1 or 2 years added onto that available to you. And at this point, I believe that Malik Willis has what it takes to play in the NFL. He just needs to be in the right scheme, in the right system, with the right players around him. He's got to fit perfectly, otherwise it could be an absolute disaster. All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below where you think Malik Willis should be selected and who your pro comparison is for him. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.